everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that short video of some of the things that we have going on here at COABE. I just want to take a moment and introduce our sponsor for today's webinar. His name is Ben Jacobs, and he's with the NROC project, and I'm going to turn it over to him for a few minutes.
Thanks so much. Let's see. Just one second here, make sure I got everything pulled up correctly.
Yeah, take your time. I'm over in the chat just saying hello to everybody, so.
Sure. Here we go. I'm gonna stop my video for the moment and we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, my name is Ben Jacobs. I'm an implementation specialist with the NROC project. A little bit about my background. So before coming to the NROC project, I started off as an educator in the K-12 system and then moved on to working with adult education. So that's really been a passion of mine. It was a great fit to come on with the NROC project as we've continued and are trying to continue to support adult education efforts. And I really want to thank Liz and Anthony for allowing NROC project to sponsor the webinar today. And I'll go ahead and get started. And I want to tell you a little bit about NROC and the things we offer and what we're trying to do for our members in adult education. So we're a community of educational institutions from K-12, higher ed, and adult education. And we work together to think about some of the ways that we can use our digital resources that we developed and how they can maybe change the success equation for students. And we've done that with our members. So we're a community-driven organization. And OTAN, we've worked with them. Anthony is at OTAN, and we've had a great relationship with them. And he can probably discuss, some of the things we've done with them and working in collaboration. And that's really our passion, is making sure that we develop tools and resources that meet the needs of our members. So here are some of the products we've developed with our member community, and they mainly focus on English and math. So in the past, we've been focused on helping students get ready for college level courses. However, we're now starting to focus mainly these same resources on how to help students think about not only post-secondary education, but careers as well. And everything we do is free and available at our open websites, which you can see here at edready.org and hippocampus.org. So we encourage you to take a look at these resources and consider membership. And if you consider membership, you'll receive some extra benefits such as reporting, and one of the most important things, which is collaborating with us and our other adult educators so that we can better serve our students. And there's no barrier for usage. So please go and take a look at these. As you can see, these both include English and math. And I'll talk about these individually as well. So we both offer online curriculum as well as installed courses that can be put into your LMS. And these materials offer media-rich activities and lessons that can be used using your membership. And these include text, audio, practice questions, interactive simulations, and other components that support a variety of learning styles. And as you can see, these are some of the examples that you'll see, some of these media-rich resources. And these that I'm showing you are what you'll see in EdReady, but also in our installed courses. But our web-based tools, this is one of our most popular ways to deliver the curriculum that we provide is through EdReady. And EdReady is a personalized math and English readiness tool that incorporates a low-stakes approach to building a student knowledge inventory. And it helps identify the gaps in their knowledge and skills, and then creates a personalized study path for each individualized student. And make sure it's in the context of the specific math and English readiness goals that our members create. And our curriculum can be customized by the instructors or admins to align with the goals of the program and the needs of your student population. So we talked about the LMS version and EdReady version. So we've had a lot of success with EdReady. As we know, there's some adult ed programs that don't have a home LMS or can't share one between its member institutions. Since EdReady is an online-based tool, it's a great way to track student activity, as some students may move from site to site, which is really important. It also gives you the availability to track seat time, which we know is super important for adult ed programs. and making sure that students are on task. You're able to have great visibility about what your students are doing. We currently have some pre-aligned scopes that are already loaded into EdReady that our members can utilize. And to create these scopes, we consulted with subject matter experts that were able to take the resources we currently offer and align them with some of those tests, such as the TABE, the GED test, NRS standards, and things like that, so that students can be prepared to master these exams upon completion of their program and going through their goal in EdReady. You know, as a member, instructors can break down these even further and view detailed reports as students improve their EdReady score and prepare for classes at the post-secondary level or for their future career. And speaking of a future career, one way that we've tried to create a system that aligns to a student goal rather than just a test or an assessment is we've implemented EdReady Math Pathways. So this is something we're really excited about. Again, consulting with subject matter experts, we've had a long list of scopes that we've aligned with math that's needed to successfully complete certificates and degrees in a number of different fields. And these range from degrees and certificates in agriculture and early childhood education, all the way to business and construction trade certificates. And the alignment of these scopes supports the students so that they can incorporate that math into their field of choice. So it's really applicable to what they're going to be doing, you know, after they leave the classroom. How are they going to use this math to really put it into practice once they decide on a career, or perhaps they go into the post-secondary institution. So one of the main benefits of becoming a member of NROC, even though we offer these resources free, is that we do offer a robust implementation and technical support, and I'm very proud of that. So I'm a part of that team. We have a dedicated implementation specialist if you become a member. So some people are a little overwhelmed by a new piece of technology, and a lot of times traditional vendors will charge by the hour. We, as a nonprofit, offer that unlimited resource of an implementation specialist. We have daily office hours, regular info sessions where you can all contact your implementation specialist, get on a video call, and be able to share screens and make sure that you get out of EdReady and our course tools what you'd like and how it meets the needs of your students. Some of the other membership values beyond the implementation team are going to be, we have live monthly webinars on teaching with technology, an online forum, a great member meeting where we can all come together and collaborate and talk about what's next for NROC and how are we going to pursue really impacting these adult ed students. And we also offer, as a part of your membership, unlimited use of all the NROC courses and tools for local adaptation. So if you become a member, you're then able to go through and use the courses as many times you like. There's no seat licensing numbers right now, so you can use as many students in EdReady as you'd like. So I want to thank everybody again, Liz, for inviting us to help sponsor this today. If you're interested in perhaps becoming a member or talking about our materials or talking to one of our membership team, please reach out to us at membership@nroc.org. We'd love to talk to you, talk about what you have in mind in the future, and we can help you moving forward. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Liz. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'm trying to start my video again. Okay, so next up is our presenter. So I just want to go over a couple of things. We've got the chat over on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can introduce yourself there. It'd be great. We'd love to hear from you and where you're from. If you have a question, if you could put it in the question and answer section, there's a little place that says Q&A. That'd be easier, because that way with the chat sometimes it gets scrolling and we may miss a question, and we don't want to do that. So if you could use the question and answer, Anthony's going to try to stop along the way, and if we miss you, then just hold on to the end of the presentation and we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions. So I would like to, I'm going to share my screen now. Hang on one second. Sorry, I gotta hit share first, sorry. And I wanna just show you today's title is called Using Technology to Help Students Set and Achieve Goals. And our presenter today is Anthony Burek, and he is a project specialist with the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, or otherwise known as OTAN, a California state leadership project that focuses on assisting adult education staff with integrating technology into instructional practices. What a great job, by the way. That's so important too. He provides face-to-face and online training at sites and conferences across the state. He also assists with managing digital content and communications for OTAN. Prior to joining OTAN, Anthony was the ESL and citizenship coordinator for an adult ed program in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's previously worked as an ESL teacher, distance learning teacher, EL Civics project leader, and GED test administrator, managing the GED testing center and helping open the agency's Pearson VUE Test Center. Finally, he's been active in a statewide professional development association for ESL, K through adult professionals at local and state levels, and he currently serves on his board of directors as outreach coordinator. Wow, so what a resume. We're so lucky to have someone so experienced with us today. Thank you so much for presenting and taking your time. So I'm going to turn this over to Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate the introduction and the chance to speak with everybody today about goal setting and using technology for that. And again, thank you to COABE for hosting this today's webinar, and also to the NROC project for sponsoring today's event. As Ben mentioned, we are in partnership with the NROC project, and it's really a great opportunity for us to bring the NROC resources to adult ed learners and teachers in California. So I would definitely encourage you to look into what they're doing, and if you want to get in partnership with them, we highly encourage it. I'm going to, you see my picture and my video. Hello from the SCOE studio in beautiful suburban Sacramento, California. We're happy to be here with you today. And the weather is sunny, but a little blustery. So that's where we are today. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can get started here. Okay, so yes, our topic today, using technology to help students set and achieve goals. And I am a project specialist with OTAN. My contact information is here. I'm active on Twitter. And as Liz has been posting in the chat window, all of today's resources are available at the link at the bottom of the slide that you see. So it's a bit.ly, bit.ly / and then after the slash, it's case sensitive. So it's capital C, capital O, capital A, capital B, capital E, and the word goals lowercase. And you'll find my slides and other resources there. And actually, I'm going to just turn to that resource for a second so I can explain what we're looking at. So again, my slides are available on the left-hand side. And then I have some additional notes that you can take a look at after today's session. And then I also have 2 Google Forms. So I wanted to make our session today a little bit interactive. And all of these materials are housed in a Google site. So if you're looking for a resource to use to organize your resources for students, your materials for students, Google site is a great option. It helps you basically build a very simple website that you can use to organize these resources. So I like to use Google Sites when I present so that I can share my resources with the participants right away. So you have access to the materials that we're going to use today. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to the slides here. Okay, and we'll get started. So here's my agenda for today. I know that we are hoping to finish by about 12 o'clock here, so in about 45 minutes or so. So I'm going to try to get through my presentation as quickly as possible. But there's a lot of things that I want you to think about by the end of our webinar today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about OTAN, just a minute or two, and then the reason for this workshop, why I thought this was an important topic to share with you, with the field. We'll talk about the concept of nudges and how that plays into using technology and goal setting. We'll spend some time talking about a variety of tech tools that are available for you to use with goal setting with your students. And then we'll do some wrap up at the end. Again, Liz mentioned, if you have questions as we go along, I actually like to take questions as we go along. So we'll see if I can pause, here and there and take some of those questions. And again, all of the resources are available at that bit.ly site. And that site will be available also for the foreseeable future. So feel free to return to the site, share with your colleagues, and especially share with your students as well, all the resources that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so again, OTAN, in the state of California, there are 3 state leadership projects for adult education. OTAN is one of them, along with CASAS, that some of you know, that handle assessment, data collection, data accountability in the state, and also an organization known as CalPro, which helps with research-based instructional practices in the classroom. We focus on technology training for adult educators across the state. And as a state leadership project, we talk about a variety of tech tools that are out there, but we're not a vendor. We're not pushing any one particular tech tool on you. So really, we want to share with you our findings about, integrating technology in the classroom, but really it's up to you to decide what you would feel comfortable using in your classroom and with your students. So hopefully today is informative, but again, we're not here to sell you on anything. I will mention though, we have a fantastic new website, otan.us. We have a lot of resources that are freely available for adult educators. So please spend some time on our website, taking a look at the resources that are there. We love to share with the field, and please use these materials as you see fit. Okay, so why are we here today? What's the reason for this webinar? So, it's January 2020. Happy New Year, by the way. We're coming back to school from the winter break. Maybe we're getting started for the spring term, the spring semester. And inevitably, one of the things that we focus on is the students' goals. They walk into our agencies, they come into our classrooms, and we want to know, why are they there? What are their goals for the short term and the long term? I've been in adult ed for a number of years now, and I know that oftentimes what happens is we go about collecting this information, usually on pieces of paper, and then these pieces of paper are collected and filed away with the intention to, at some point, return to them to revisit the students' goals. And yet, as is often the case, this does not happen because we get so caught up in the other things that we're trying to do, the content we're trying to teach, the testing we need to do, the benchmarks we need to reach, and unfortunately, many times these goals get lost. And so, after sitting through a number of back to school events throughout the years, it finally occurred to me that maybe we could go about it a different way. Maybe we could use technology, for example, to aid in this goal setting and achieving process. So I've started thinking about, how can we use technology? Can we take advantage of technology that's out there to help the students set these goals and also help them achieve these goals, and also don't forget the goals, in the middle of everything else that we need to take care of. So, getting started with technology, as probably most of you know, sometimes it's a stop and start kind of a process. I asked one of my colleagues here in the Sacramento area about, well, what about you at your agency? Are you using technology right now to help students set goals? And so this was this person's response. She says, we're not using any apps. At the intake, we are starting to use Google Docs. And so, I read the first part of this email and I was like so encouraged, like, oh my gosh, somebody's actually using technology to help students set goals. But then she continues, she's using the Google Doc to record students' answers from a handwritten intake sheet that students complete. On the first day of class, students would also give this handwritten paper form to the teachers. And so this generated for me many questions about the use of technology and what exactly was happening here, and why, once the technology was introduced, we still fell back on paper. So many questions, and again, with technology, it's always kind of a messy process in the beginning. So it really has to be thought out. How are we going to introduce this technology? How are we going to use it with students? What are the benefits of it? What are the challenges that we need to overcome? But how can we take advantage of technology that's out there? Okay, so what I'd like to do is just do a quick, well, maybe not quick, but a short survey that's going to cover a number of topics. It's mostly multiple choice questions, but there are a few short answers in the middle there. So if we head back over to the Google site, the bit.ly site, and if we're looking at the third document from the left, Google Form number 1, when you go ahead and open it, it's colored purple, and you should be able to go ahead and fill out this Google Form. There are a number of questions about SMART goals, what you know about SMART goals, some short answers in the middle, and then also some questions at the end about using, what kind of technology are you already using in the class, or at your school site or with your students. So take a minute or two to fill out the survey. And then the nice thing about the Google form is that as people are finishing the survey, their responses will show up in real time. And so we'll be able to get some responses back here and take a look and see what the fields which you all have entered here. So again, Google Forms, they're dynamic forms. So we're getting the information back in real time. We're getting the data back in real time. This is a great resource that you can use in your class for all kinds of purposes, formative assessment, just checking in with students, maybe surveys, questionnaires. These are Google Form, Microsoft Form, other kinds of forms you can use in your office. You know, when new students or clients come into the office, if you want to have them do check-ins or information requests or things like that, it's a great way to capture that information. And so if you're looking back at my screen, the responses are coming in quickly, which is fantastic. The technology is working. Probably give it another minute or so. Maybe I see, maybe once we hit maybe, well, we'll see how quickly they come in, 30, 40, 50 responses, and then we'll start working through the results here. I'll just mention too, at OTAN, in some of the work that we're doing with the adult ed field in the state, throughout the state, we do focus on SMART goals. There are other goal setting frameworks that are out there, but we do like the SMART goal framework. One of the deliverables that agencies are currently working on right now for WIOA funded agencies is a technology and distance learning plan, which is basically sort of an annual plan on how they plan to work on technology related goals in their agency. And we weave the SMART goal framework into that deliverable. So we really want, we're really trying to get adult ed staff to think about their goals in a number of different ways. Okay, so the responses are still coming in, so please feel free to continue responding and filling out your forms, submitting your forms. But I'm going to start working through the responses here just in the interest of time. Okay, so the first question is SMART goals. What does the S stand for in SMART goals? So the answer is specific. We want students and others to be specific in their goal setting. What does the M stand for? Measurable. Very good, fantastic, 100%. What does the A stand for? A stands for achievable with SMART goal setting. What does the R stand for? R stands for relevant, so especially relevant to the students' lives. These are the goals and that they really care about and things that they want to achieve. And then what does the T stand for? So the T stands for time bound. So there's some kind of time restrictions on how, you know, when is this goal going to be concluded by. Okay, what are your teachers doing right now with student goal setting and achieving? Okay, so we see a variety of responses here. We provide, for example, we provide nudges to our students through our LMS. Fantastic. We'll talk about nudges in a little bit. Walking them through setting specific goals that have a measurement of success and a timeline. So again, this is tied back to SMART goal setting. Paper, I'm sure a lot of folks are still working with paper. There's no shame in paper at the moment, but hopefully we can make the move to technology and digitizing some of this work. An e-portfolio, great idea. Goal checklist form, very good. Using EdReady and maybe other products that are out there, which may have a goal setting component to them. Sometimes they get overlooked in the interest of trying to get through the content, but if the products that you're using have that kind of a module or component, I'd really encourage you to look more into that. That's a piece of technology that can be used to help students with their goals. Okay, tracking things with Google Docs, or maybe with Microsoft Office, with maybe Word Docs or something like that. Filling out SMART goals on a paper form. Okay, so there's a variety of things that folks are doing. Fantastic. How are you using technology? Oh, sorry. Are you using technology to help students achieve goals? So it looks like the majority of folks at the moment say no, but a lot of people say yes, which is very encouraging. What kind of tools are you using for the SMART goal setting? So we've talked about a few of these already. So Remind, for example, tools in the LMS, Google Drive, NROC resources, Google Forms, GED.com, maybe calendars out there, software platforms. Very good. Okay, so let's talk about some technology that you already have available to you that you could be using for goal setting and such, and being in communication with students. So do you speak to students on the phone outside of the class? So about 60% yes, 40% no. Are you texting students? So almost over 3/4 texting students, using texting. Good. Emailing students, about 80% or so. Very good. Do you connect with students on social media? Okay, so majority says no, but about 40% say yes. Oops. Sorry, the form's a bit dynamic, so. Okay, and then do you use an LMS, for example, Moodle, Canvas, Schoology, Blackboard as a part of your instruction? About 40% or so say yes, but majority say no. Okay, good. So I hope this gives us kind of a sense of what folks are using right now, and also the SMART goal setting framework too, that we're going to talk about some more. Okay, so again, with any kind of technology project, not necessarily this one, but with others out there, really it's so helpful to kind of find out a number of things before you get started. So student tech devices inside and outside the school, what kind of access do students have to technology in their lives? What is their ability with the technology? How do they use the technology? And it's also helpful too to find out what students are doing on their phone, online, what are their favorite apps, where are they on social media? All of these things I think are very helpful for us as educators when we start rolling out technology projects to have a sense of, we can't just roll these things out blindly. We really need, kind of a basic survey to figure out, where students are, what they have the capability of achieving with technology, and maybe where some of the gaps are that we need to help fill. We've talked about a number of technology tools so far, phones, email, social media, LMS. If people don't know, it's a learning management system. That's what LMS stands for. Sometimes the school's SIS, student information system, also has the ability for us as teachers and educators to actually reach out to our students through the school's SIS. So, back at your agencies, you might look into that as an option as well. We're collecting a lot of basic demographic information from our students, including contact information, email addresses, phone numbers, things like that. So that information is there, and maybe we can make use of that when we reach out to our students and communicate with them. Virtual meetings is another kind of technology. I know that some people, sometimes in this presentation, they ask me, they say, well, we're in a place where our students just don't have the access to devices, the internet, things like that. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at the National Digital Inclusion Alliance website. It's a great starting point for resources to address those internet access and device issues that you may be facing and your students may be facing in their communities. They reference a number of organizations across the country that are helping to fill those gaps. So that's a great place to get started and learn about some resources that you might be able to take advantage of in your communities and with your students. Okay, Liz, let me do a quick check-in. Any questions so far?
Let me see. I see one. Oh, well, it seems like it's more of a comment. It says S stands for strategies. Then there was a comment. I work in a rural area where there's no access for technology, so we do make use of pen and paper.
Okay.
I think this is someone who may be from out of the country, actually.
Okay.
That's more of a comment, I guess. Then there's a question, do you know of a way to set goals with GED.com?
I haven't looked at the GED.com website in a while. I would probably need to go back and look into that some more. But if people are working on GED.com, maybe if you want to just put a comment in the chat, if you know what the participant's asking about, maybe, you know, some directions on where they can look in the GED.com website. But I'm sorry, I'm a person that I'm not sure where that would be in the website.
Okay.
Okay. And again, just to piggyback on that comment about the access. So again, check out that NDIA website. It's a really fantastic resource for a lot of things that have to do with digital equity issues and inclusion and things like that. Okay, so let's turn to nudges. And some folks, when they were filling out the Google form, mentioned that they nudge their students. So let's think about what that looks like. So there was a book that was published, I think about 10 or 12 years ago, called Nudge by Thaler and Sunstein. After I read the book, kind of the takeaway question for me was, can we encourage humans to make good choices? Because they are humans, we are all humans, and humans don't always make good choices or even know what kind of choices to make. So Thaler and Sunstein have some ideas about nudging people to make good choices. And, you know, it's, I think a lot of things when it comes to nudges, you know, as teachers and we're working with students on a daily basis, I think we know some of these things already. We've built some of these things into our practice. But I think it's always a good reminder for us to think about how powerful we are in our students' lives and how our communication with students is really so crucial for a lot of them. You know, oftentimes it's kind of the difference between persisting in the program and continuing with their studies and just stopping out or dropping out of the adult education program. So we really, you know, again, I think we always need to work on our, as educators, we always need to work on our communication. We can always make our communication better. That goes for me as well. And so I like the framework that Thaler and Sunstein have come up with. They've created something called choice architecture. And they use the acronym NUDGES to introduce some points for us to consider when we're thinking about how we can help nudge people to make good choices. So their architecture is incentives, understand mappings, defaults, give feedback, expect error, and structure complex choices. So let's talk about each of those just kind of briefly. So the first point is incentives. I'm just going to read a short passage from Nudge on this point. So Thaler and Sunstein say, so choice architects, so that's us teachers, choice architects must think about incentives when they design a system. Sensible architects will put the right incentives on the right people. The most important modification that must be made to a standard analysis of incentives is salience. Do the choosers actually notice the incentives they face? So I put up this graphic here. You see, you might be familiar with the exercise equipment on the left-hand side, the treadmill. When you step on the treadmill and start working and doing the work, you get a lot of data back, right? You're getting how many calories am I burning? How far have I walked? What is my speed and all that? And for some people, that might be a great incentive. Like, oh my gosh, you know, I have to burn X number of calories today, right? But then I think about cookies, and I love cookies. Anybody who knows me knows that I love cookies, and I love cake, and I love pie, and I love sweets. So I was wondering, you know, what if I could step on a treadmill that instead of numbers coming back at me would show me, like if I programmed in a cookie, and as I was working away and exercising, what if the machine was like eating the cookie for me to the point where the cookie disappeared, so that I knew that I had done enough exercise to account for this cookie that I had just eaten. So maybe for me, that's a better incentive than a bunch of numbers that are coming back at me, right? And so, Thaler and Sunstein are asking us, right? What are the incentives that are salient for people? Like, what are the incentives that are going to make the most impact on people? And so when we think about our students, some of the incentives that we put in front of them are going to appeal to some of them, but maybe not everybody, right? So maybe we need to rethink, what's the right incentive for the right person? What is the thing that's going to motivate this person and provide a great incentive for them to continue? Mappings, understanding mappings, what they say is a good system of choice architecture helps people to improve their ability to map and hence to select options that will make them better off. One way to do this is to make the information about various options more comprehensible by transforming numerical information into units that translate more readily into actual use. Some of the people in the Google form I noticed, they said that they actually sit down with the students and they map out the goals, right? And the students might, I think a lot of them come to the adult ed and they walk in the door and they say, I want to get my GED, with really no sense of like what it's going to take to actually get a GED, right? Or to go to the community college, or to finish a certification program, or to move up an ESL level, right? In their minds, they just have this goal that really doesn't have any kind of foundation to it. Like, how are they going to get from A to B? So really, I think it's a mapping exercise, and this is what we can help students with, right? We can sort of lay it out for them and say, okay, well, if you do these steps, A, B, C, D, and E, then there's a really high likelihood that you're actually going to achieve the goal that you've walked in with. So again, mappings are really important. Defaults, they say, for reasons we have discussed, many people will take whatever option requires the least effort or the path of least resistance. If for a given choice there is a default option, then we can expect a large number of people to end up with that option, whether or not it is good for them. And these behavioral tendencies toward doing nothing will be reinforced if the default option comes with some implicit or explicit suggestion that it represents the normal or even the recommended course of action. And I think we've worked with enough adult ed students to know that when the going gets tough, the default is to drop out of the adult education program. And we may see them again, or we may never see them again, right? So in the student's mind, I think a lot of the times the default is when things get difficult, I'm going to drop the difficult thing. I'm not going to persist. I'm not going to continue on with it. So we have to tell students that there are other options, right? And that the default is not necessary. I mean, the default is an option for sure, but it may not be the best option, right? There are other options for you to consider. This is one of them. Maybe we can look at some other options, and instead of just automatically choosing that default option, we can pick something else. Giving feedback, and I'm going to take the next two together. So giving feedback. From Nudge, the best way to help humans improve their performance is to provide feedback. Well-designed systems tell people when they are doing well and when they are making mistakes. And then we have the next one, expect error. Humans make mistakes. A well-designed system expects its users to err and is as forgiving as possible. So I think as teachers, we know this. I mean, this is a daily part of our practice. We know that students are not always going to get 100%. But again, what is the feedback that we're providing them? And is it as forgiving as possible when we provide some feedback that may not be positive, right? So when we hand back assignments, we might say, well, you got a certain number wrong, but let's also look at what you got correct, and make sure that we also look at that as well. Okay, and then the last part of their choice architecture is structure complex choices. Again, from the book, people adopt different strategies for making choices depending on the size and complexity of the available options. When we face a small number of well-understood alternatives, we tend to examine all the attributes of the alternatives and then make trade-offs when necessary. But when the choice set gets large, we must use alternative strategies, and these can get us into trouble. So again, I think this ties back into the default and the mapping, and students really, for a lot of students, even just coming to the adult ed program is a big choice, right? They have to make time for it among all the other things that they have to do in their lives. And sometimes for students, as we're proceeding along, things get overwhelming. And so we need to be able to help students understand, all the choices that are out there and really kind of simplify it for them sometimes, and really say, okay, these are the priorities. Let's focus on these things to help you get through and move along. Okay, at this point, we normally would do a survey, but I'm actually gonna pass over this and move into the discussion about tech tools. Liz, just a quick check-in, anything I need to worry about or any questions or?
Nope, I think you're good.
Okay, very good. Okay, so if we have time at the end, maybe we'll circle back to that activity, but I think I wanna shift now to the tech tools here. Okay, so I wanna talk about a number of tools that were built specifically for goal setting, working on goal setting. And I've found a number of them out there. I wanna start with this tool called LifeTick. In my estimation, LifeTick is the tool that pays the most attention to SMART goals. So it really has built SMART goal setting into how the app works and how users can use LifeTick. You can create a free account, and you also have the option of adding a subscription as well. I think a really cool feature of LifeTick and a few other of these tools is that you can add supporters who can come in and look at these goals and then also support the student do some nudging from within the app. So I think this is really a great benefit of this particular tool and a few others that are out there. The starting point for the web is the website is lifetick.com. So what I want to show you is I want to show you two different sides of LifeTick. I want to show you my student account, and then I'm going to show you a teacher account, and then how these two accounts interact. And I think as we're using any of these tools, we always want to think about, can the student make the goals better, right? Can they fall back on those SMART goal points so that the goals are not like, too big or not achievable, not realistic, things like that. So I'm going to switch over. Okay, and hopefully everybody can see my screen here. So I've logged into my LifeTick account as a student. And I've already set up a goal. My goal here is to pass the 4 tests of the GED. Now that's a huge goal, okay? I've broken it down into these 4 tasks, right? Pass the social studies test, pass the science test, pass language arts, and pass math. I've assigned due dates to them. The little bell here indicates that I've also set up a notification that could come at certain intervals. It could come daily, it could come weekly, it could come monthly, whatever makes the most sense. As a student, I've also added a supporter. So I'm going to show you the supporter or teacher account in a minute. And then there's also some information that I provided about this goal. Kind of in my estimation, I think this is a very challenging goal. For me, this is a high priority. I need to get my GED. I've also kind of personalized this goal. So for me as the student, I've written down, I need to pass my GED so I can get financial aid to attend community college. I think as a supporter, this is really valuable information, right? We really know kind of at a very personal level why this goal is important for the student, right? And this isn't necessarily the same reason why other students are in the class also trying to get their GED as well. They may have completely different reasons for doing so. But we know for this particular student, it's about getting that financial aid to go to college. So there's that. So I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna, now, when I first, as a student, when I first created this goal, this is a fantastic goal, right? Getting your GED is a fantastic goal. The problem, though, I think, is that it's a little too big, right? It's trying to do everything at once, when really, maybe the better way to go about it is to break it down into the different tests, right? So to add a goal, and I really like this new feature of LifeTick. This used to be not very SMART goal specific. There was more, previously there was like a checkbox, like, okay, this is basically a SMART goal, check the box, right? Here, they actually address each of the SMART goal points. I really like this. So what is my goal? So let's say we make it a lot more specific, right? So pass the social studies test, for example. Oops, social studies test, okay. Again, how will I know that when I've achieved this? So maybe I have a due date scheduled, you know, in a month's time or something like that. So I will pass the test in 1 month or something like that. Achievable, how realistic is the goal for me? So maybe, you know, I'm starting with social studies because it tends to be an easier test than like math and language arts. So maybe for me, it's a pretty doable thing. I should mention, by the way, LifeTick is actually out of Australia. So some of the spelling may look a little funny. It's Australian English, so just keep that in mind. How does the goal align with my life? We could maybe just plop that right into the education segment or value of our life, and then time specific. So maybe we have an idea that in a month's time, we want to be finished with the social studies test and pass the test, okay? Again, here's that space where you can, you know, really personalize it for the student, and then how important is the goal to me right now? So it's a high priority, like I gotta get this GED because I need to get the financial aid because I gotta go to college, ... I'll just put in financial aid here, okay. So say next. Okay, so now if we close this window, we can see that we've now added a new goal to our student LifeTick account, okay? Okay, now what I would like to do, ooh, that's the wrong one. Cancel that. Go back here. Oh, because it's in reverse order, sorry, okay. Okay, so now I have a goal. So what I would like to do now is reach out to a supporter, a teacher, okay? So let's say I want to reach out to my teacher. And I'm gonna go, oops, spelled incorrectly. So what I can do is I can send out invites to people. So think about, you know, who are the people potentially who could support the student? Could be the teacher, could be if you have counseling staff at the school, might be support staff who might be able to help out as well. But anybody could be added as a supporter. And then the nice thing about that, I'm gonna switch over to, so now we're looking at, make this a little bigger. So this is my teacher account. So now let's go back to the original goal. So I can look and see the goal that the student has typed into their account. I'm listed as a supporter for this student, okay? And then here is a space where I can add a comment or think of it as a nudge, right? So within the app, the student and the teacher or other supporters can comment back and forth. They can send the messages back and forth. But I can watch the progress of the student as they're working on achieving their goal and then send back a nudge to them, okay? Nudge, right? And then whatever you want to type in there. If I save that, so you'll see the activity is listed down here. If I go back to my student account, close that. Oops, wrong place, activity. Okay, and now you'll see that down here, this is the nudge or the comment that I just sent from my teacher account, okay? So again, we could do the messaging within the app. As a supporter, I can monitor, you know, I can't go in and change the student's goal. I can't do any of that kind of adjustment, but I can look and see what the students has been working on so far. How are they reading, how's their work on the task going? You know, if we're getting closer to particular deadlines, maybe that's a time for a nudge to check in with the students. So I think this is really a very cool feature of LifeTick. And I really like this aspect of being able to, as a supporter, as a teacher, being able to monitor what's going on and then being able to nudge the student, you know, depending on how the work is going towards the goal, towards achieving the goal.
Hi, Anthony, it's Liz. Can I cut in for 1 second?
Yes, please.
Good. There was a question and I just didn't want to let it go past. It said, do you know how many students can be added under the My Students section?
Let's go back here. So the My Student, Oh, as a like a supporter, for example. So if I'm a teacher, if that's what you're asking about, as a teacher, when I switch over to supporting, I could have as many students as possible. So I
Okay.
could have student Anthony, I could have student Lisa, student Joe, student Manuel. Yeah,
Okay. So probably would handle the whole class.
exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have, right. So it doesn't have like a class feature. Like you could, like maybe the starting point would be a class and then you would kind of work through the class. This is more just within the app itself. And so, yeah, on the teacher side, maybe I'll have a list of like 30 students or something like that.
Okay, so there's 3 more questions. Can
Okay.
I
Sure.
ask them? Okay.
Sure.
So someone else said, can all supporters see the student account, not just the teacher?
Yes, if you're a supporter, so long as the student has invited you in as a supporter, then as many supporters can view the student account. Yes, correct.
Okay, and then the next question is, how do I know who the student is? I don't see a name.
Okay, so there's the goal right underneath. So I'm in my teacher account. So the the owner is student Anthony Burek. So whatever name the student is using is the name that's going to show up in the owner space, and then that's how you'll be able to identify the student.
Okay, great. And then there's one other question. How does this site look on a smartphone? Is it still as simple as what you're demonstrating on the laptop?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely look at it. Like I say, they did make a few adjustments to it in the past few months. But I believe the last time I used my phone, I was able to look at it. I'm not sure I think it's responsive. So I think it'll kind of scale down to your phone. But, you can, I would go through I'm not sure I think I went in through the browser and just typed in LifeTick and then signed into my account from there. So, and I don't recall having a problem using my smartphone.
Okay, and then there was one more question.
Okay.
Are these features available in the free version?
Yes, so what we're looking at right now is the free version of LifeTick.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a subscription version that you can take a look at as well. So, but I want to just make sure that people understand that this is what we can do on the free side. Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, we're maybe like 10 more minutes. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's LifeTick. Where am I? Okay, so let's go back to my presentation. Okay, so as I mentioned, I really think LifeTick, of all the things that I've looked at so far, really speaks to the SMART goal setting the best. I just threw in a couple of examples of some of the notifications that come in from LifeTick. So again, depending on the notification settings that the student has set, these are the notifications they're going to get. And again, I think that this notification in particular really speaks to the point of, imagine as a student, you get this reminder in your email to pass all 4 tests of the GED, even though maybe you're only working on one of them at any particular point, right? So I think it's really important, to kind of walk through the process with students, right? We're going back to that point about the mapping, right? We really need to map it out for students, and we really need to scale it down to something that's really achievable for the students at that moment, right? So that the notifications that they're getting only focus on social studies tests and then the tasks that I need to complete to, on my path to finishing that test and passing that test. So really the goal setting, that's something that we might work on together as a class initially. And then once you get in there as a supporter, then you can really take a closer look at that. And, if there need to be edits or whatever, you can work on those with the student. Okay, and also this is just an example of a nudge that I sent at one point. But, this is the messaging that's a part of the app that's going on. Okay, so another app that I've looked at is called Strides, or the Strides app. Strides pays some attention to SMART goals, so they have some of the components of SMART goals, not all of them. You can create a free account, and there's also a subscription available as well. It's really built for iOS devices only, so keep that in mind. They have been threatening to kind of overhaul the app. And I thought it might have already happened, but it doesn't look like it's happened yet. but at some point in 2020, they may do what they say that they're going to do. Starting point is www.stridesapp.com. And let me just show you what this looks like. So again, I'm in the Strides app. I'm on the desktop version, but it really works better on mobile devices. It's a lot more robust on mobile devices. Again, here's that pass the 4 tests of the GED that we saw in the Life Tick. But if I wanted to create another new goal, so let's start again, pass the social studies, oops, spelling's not very good, test, move on to the next screen. And then I think we should pick project because this is the one that's going to give us the most options here. So again, let's just look at this for a second. So here we have the name of our goal. It's time bound, right? We want to get it done by February 28th. We can receive some notifications as well here. And then we can break down the tasks as well. And each of these tasks also have, we can name the tasks. We can set, we can set deadlines on the tasks and things like that. The default is 4 tasks, but we could have, fewer or more that we would want to. And then that would be entered as a new goal. So again, it doesn't have the all of the SMART goal settings that we might like, in the Life Tick, but this might be another option as well, that still touch on, that still touch on important points of goal setting and achieving the goals. So that's the Strides app. Let me just go to the next slide here. We're just going to go back and forth. Okay, there's another tool called Goalscape, and I've logged into my Goalscape account. So this app is a little bit different just by looking at it. It's a lot more visually oriented. I'm more of a kind of a list and chart type of a person, so this doesn't necessarily appeal to me in terms of kind of setting setting up my goal and the components of the goal and things like that. But other people, you might have other students who really can kind of visualize their goals in this way. One of the nice features about Goalscape is it does have the collaboration element of Life Tick as well. So if I open up this window, I have already added Anthony Burek, teacher Anthony, to this, to my Goalscape account. And this is a free version of the account. So I can add collaborators. And over here on the right-hand side, we can do that back and forth messaging within the Goalscape app. So I'm messaging my teacher, and then my teacher, since I'm able to, since I'm a supporter of the student in this Goalscape account, I'm able to message back to the student. So we can message back and forth within the app as well. And again, this is the opportunity for you as a supporter or other supporters to provide those nudges to the students as we watch their progress to the goals. So again, I think this is a really powerful feature of these apps because we're able to be in contact with the student, even if the student's not at school, even if it's the weekend, as deadlines are coming up, all those kind of considerations. Oops. Okay, so that's Goalscape. There is another tech tool called Goal Enforcer. Now, Goal Enforcer does require a subscription. So it is a paid app, so keep that in mind. But it does kind of, if you look at the visual I've included here, if you're into mind mapping and that kind of a, activity, this might be a good tool to take a look at. It does kind of have that mind mapping concept to it, where the goal's in the middle, surrounded by the tasks, and then you can assign deadlines to the tasks and things like that. And so also it's color coordinated. So as you're knocking off the tasks, it changes from like a neutral color to a green color. And if you miss a deadline, then you get that like red late, for example, or things that are due now will change to yellow. So that might appeal to some students as well. Goals on Track is another app that I've looked at. Again, this is an app that requires a subscription, a paid subscription. The thing about Goals on Track, though, is that it does They say that they follow the SMART goal framework, and you can pay for the first month, but if you're not happy with the app, you get your money back, no questions asked, before the end of the month. So you may want to take a look at that as another option as well. Okay, shifting over to the social media side. I know some of you probably have set up and used great Facebook groups before. I think this is another possibility for, I like the community aspect of the Facebook group. So not only can we as the teacher, be in on the conversation about what students are working on towards achieving their goals, but I like that other students also can chime in with other students' goals as well. I think, all of the students are much closer to these goals, these shared goals, than we are as teachers and counselors and other supporters. And sometimes the best nudging and the best messaging comes from other students who are going through similar circumstances or can provide encouragement. They've been successful and they want to pass that along to other students as well. So maybe a Facebook group would be an option. We talked about LMSs. Really, I think if you're working with an LMS, the first thing would be to see if the LMS has any kind of an add-on or a plugin or a module or a download that is specifically for goal setting that you can add to the LMS course or add to your LMS platform. Otherwise, it's not intuitive, it's not natural. And I think one thing you might consider would be like calendar groupings. So students have, they have a calendar within the LMS when they're in an online course, and using the calendar, they are able to, and sometimes able to invite people to view their calendar. So at least you'd have a sense of like deadlines that they're working on, and maybe if they've calendared out tasks, you can have an idea about what it is they're working on at any particular point. But it's not, unfortunately, some of you might have identified maybe a goal setting module within the LMS that you work in. And if you have, maybe just throw that into the chat, that we can consider, but it's not necessarily a part of the LMS. So, okay, I'll take like 2 minutes to basically go through the rest of our slides here so we can wrap things up. Just in terms of like, promoting and celebrating student success, I really, when it comes to like promotion, I really think about trying to document the process, right? It's not just the graduation or the ceremony at the end, but it's really like everything that happens along the way, right? It's the journey, right? So social media is great for this. I think video is such a powerful tool that we really should be all using much more in promoting our adult ed agencies and telling our students' stories. So I provided a number of screenshots from Twitter that just cover a number of aspects of the adult ed process, right? So again, it's not just the ceremony at the end, but it's the nudging. It's showing, we're an adult ed agency that is committed to helping students reach their goals. Right at the start of the term, first day of class, working hard in class, listening to the students, responding to their needs in class. I really like this particular tweet where we actually show the student in the classroom showing us how he's reaching his goal. I think this is it's such a beautiful validation as to the power of adult education. And we really need to show others in our community, that this is what adult ed's all about. Working on goal setting, when you're doing those activities with students, make it public, show the community that we can help you reach your goals, right? And celebrating as well. Video, as I mentioned, is a really powerful resource. Just a couple of sites to take a look at. LAUSD, their Division of Adult and Career Ed, they have a nice video library page with really short, like 1-minute videos that have students saying, this is what ESL is doing to help me in my life, right? This is what my medical assistant program is doing. This is where I want to be in a year, and medical assisting program is helping me get there. We also have a Student Succeeds website I'd encourage you to take a look at. We have many, many stories about student success at adult ed agencies across the state. We also have turned some of those text stories into video. Again, I think it's really powerful to share other students' stories with students who feel like they're the only ones who are going through whatever it is they're going through. And for them to understand that other students have been in their same exact situation and they've been able to succeed. So please feel free to use the stories that are there and share them with your students and show the videos in class as well. I'm going to skip this slide. So again, I work for OTAN. I've included a few slides here about OTAN, about our website. Please take a look at our website. We have a lot of resources that we love to share with the field. Here's our contact information. And I would just leave you today with this reflection tool, 3-2-1 reflection tool. So reflect on 3 things that you've learned today. Hopefully you've learned at least 3 things. 2 things that you'll share, either with your colleagues, or, but hopefully really with your students, right? It's really for the students that we're working and doing all this work for. And then 1 thing that you will try. You don't have to try everything today, but take a first step and try 1 thing. And that is it. Thank you so much. Liz, I'm going to turn it back to you. I'm going to stop my share and I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I did reply to a couple of people that we are out of time, so I wanted to make sure that his email, Anthony's email, is on his slideshow, and maybe he could type it into that chat box right now too. So if you had a question we didn't get to, please email Anthony. I'm just going to have you guys do a quick poll. It's super fast. It's just 1 question, and I launched it so you can answer it, please, for us. So we just know how we're doing on our webinars at COABE.
And again, Liz, I just want to say thank you so much to COABE for hosting today.
You're welcome.
And I'd really love, I'm just going to put it out to the field. I mean, we at OTAN are always interested in seeing how adult ed folks are using technology in the classroom with students. Student support would also be a great area to explore. With technology, we'd love to hear about what folks are using technology for when it comes to student support services. And also social media. I would love to see a couple of social media sessions throughout the year, about what you guys are using for social media, how you're using it, how you're reaching out to your communities. So I'm just going to put that out there to the field. I'd love to hear, more webinars and more information about a variety of topics on tech. So.
Yeah, and I just want to thank Ben again from the NROC project. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's webinar. And if you guys want to join the NROC project, I'm sure that you can Google it and sign up there. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, Anthony, and everyone. And we'll sign off now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And go Niners on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.